I think it's important to understand what the symptoms are and the challenges that arise with that gap. So let's kind of outline really fast for listeners. If you don't bridge that gap, if you don't try to bring those two groups closer together and more aligned, what are the realities? What do you face?
I think you face the typical challenges of a dysfunctional team, and everybody has some degree of dysfunction. And quite
Yeah.
frankly, this week, we're like 2 days into the week, and we've actually experienced that, and we've had some challenges this week, just
Mhm.
the last couple of days with meeting agendas that other people are forcing upon others, and just working to collaborate better and communicate better. It's really, we sometimes fall into the rut of just getting by. Well, what we've got, that's good enough. That's good enough. That's good enough. But then sooner or later, that comes back to get you. And we've had some situations that have arisen just recently like that. So then you have to hit the reset button and you have to go
Yeah.
back to basics, and you have to go, like we have a collaborative session for every project that involves basically 4 meetings based upon the project timeline. And once in a while we'll fall off the rails, and those won't happen. And then we'll find out that there was a problem because one of those things didn't happen. So I think that creates internal drama and dysfunction it's it's not completely avoidable, but you can minimize it.
Yeah. I think with smaller teams, you're going to run into the circumstance where the owner is doing a lot of the sales, and
Hmm.
the owner doing a lot of sales can be a good thing or a bad thing. On one hand, they're thinking about the entire life cycle of the project because ultimately it's their business, they're responsible. On the
Yep.
other hand, they can be so focused on trying to get the sale to feed top line, and they're maybe disconnected from the production that they not realize the burdens that they're placing on their production team and support staff. Is that you? There you go. No, and I've done
I've
the same
been
thing.
I've been excused from a few projects of late that were where my resources were best served being useful elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I have a
Well,
couple of great. I have honestly one of the greatest project managers there is, and she has to come and exercise some tough love with me when I get involved. And I like to be involved, but sometimes that's not where I need to be or should be involved. So I'm
yeah.
sure that's common in the industry and in business in general. The owner wants to do his thing, and sometimes the owner also doesn't want to play by the same set of rules that he wants his folks to play by, and that's not good for the team either. So
Yeah.
so then I get
I'm gonna
reassigned.
I'm gonna get you a plaque for your desk with quotes around it that says, "I didn't mean me,"
No,
right?
not
It's
me. Yeah, we talk about that. Yeah, right.
you
Yeah.
know, so listening to you, Mark, can I ask you a question? So you just made an acquisition of a
Yep.
smaller company, is it 4 or 5 employees? And
Hmm.
here's my question. They're, they've got great client base, they're similar shared values with you. How
Yep.
important was Apogee's production identity into them feeling excited and confident about really their sales career, their opportunity to grow the business because of your production identity?
I think that'd be a great question to ask them probably, but seriously, I was shared some feedback after the acquisition, and again, it was a wonderful small business in the Buffalo market that's been a competitor of ours for years, and um, through obviously the owner wanted to retire, and we've been connected deeply enough for her to um, express interest in Apogee taking over operations for her organization. So the I think the key for that team was to understand what was now available to them that wasn't, and it wasn't because they didn't want it. It was just because that was not their mission oriented goal was
Was it
what
in
they
their
did, and they do
wheelhouse? Yeah.
what in their wheelhouse, and what they do very, very well. In fact, that in part that drove our organization to close our office in Buffalo back in the early 2000s because they ate our lunch over there. And more portable modular back wall type sales. which is what we specialized in back in the day. But their offering was better than ours. I think their presence there was better. So we made the decision to pull out and kind of reevaluate that. And now that we have this team, to them, one of their employees shared that it was like them going to Disney World when they came here. And we're not large by any scale in the industry either, but to see somebody come in and say, wow, this is what I have now. I have
Yeah.
all these new tools in my toolbox that I can, put forth. And it was really exciting. It's exciting for our team. It's excited to have them here, and they're excited to be here. And it's not just the day to day. Okay, you're just going to be doing the same thing you've been doing, but you're just doing it for a new
Yeah.
brand. It's like these are now new things, that you can offer your clients to. Obviously, we want to maintain those relationships and deepen those relationships, and this gives them the ability to do that. And it does bring their sales/production component into our organization, which adds more depth for us. So also we'll have the challenge of managing a remote office that they're 80 miles down the road, but not something we haven't done, obviously before successfully, but it's exciting. Yeah.
Having some knowledge of the, on the people that have benefited from that acquisition. Mark's very humble. Hey, we're guys that talk to each other regularly about being small business owners, and yet here's a small business that looks at Mark as a way bigger company.
Yeah.
And so again, closing the gap, we're talking about harmonizing sales and production. This, how do you quantify the sales confidence that comes for those people with
Yeah.
their feeling now of being, aligned with a Disney level production experience? By the way, Mark, did you tell your people at Apogee what that feedback was from your new team
Yeah.
members?
Yep. And
And
and we've had
how does that make
so
them feel?
oh yeah, it's a good feeling. I got to be honest. Yeah, and all prideful arrogance aside, that we can boast about that, but it feels good,
Sure.
obviously, and
Yeah.
and it's not much different than my organization being part of a broader organization either. Because there are organizations that have more depth, that have more offerings, and just to you always watch that from a distance to see, not to copy it, but it almost provides a goal and a roadmap, and for that owner to see that that's what. Obviously, she didn't want to do that. She didn't. She was ready to enter the next phase of her life, but she saw that opportunity for her folks, and she was very transparent about making sure that they had a path forward, that they could see a future that allowed them to grow. So I think that felt good.